America. It wouldn't be the first time a white man went on stage somewhere and tried to discourage people from believing black people can, will, and do. We survived it this far, guys. So now start being sad, depressed, hurt, and ass hurt behind words that 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 4 weeks ago, you didn't care about. They're using you. They're abusing you. They got you fighting for something you don't care about when your prices are still high. And I'm going to land here. Because I appreciate the time, and I know Gary left, so we probably got a little extended time, but I don't want to do too much. I've said a lot.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Hold on, I got you, but let me land with this, and I got it. Truthfully, I really think we need to come together as a people and start having better conversations in the middle. And if everybody has an analysis take from their left side, or everybody has some deep analysis take from the right side, we'll never get to the middle where we get to have a real polished conversation, a real open and honest conversation about where we all feel we should be now. Because I'm sure this is not what the Republican Party thought. The Republican voters, I promise you, didn't think this was going this far. Same goes for the leftist voters. Same goes for the independent and left center, whatever you want to call it, right center, whatever. We all now need to start having a discussion. Is this what we picture for our future? And if that's the case, and we get to the table and we have a real honest, earnest conversation about where we all stand in this America, and we find out that this is the best case scenario, then fuck it, that's the best case scenario. But it's time to start having a real conversation with real feelings, real emotion that don't tie you back to Republican or Democrat, or independent or Republican, or leftist or right. We need to have a real human conversation so we can figure out how to stop some of this before we lose it all fighting each other. All right, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Howard.
Thank you so much, Chris.
What did we even say other than say we need to have a polished conversation? I didn't hear a fucking thing come out of his lips that had anything to do with that.
Steve. All right, Steve, welcome to the stage. What do you have to say, my friend?
Pleasure to be here, and I hope Gary is okay. I'm going to read an op-ed, an article that I posted on my Facebook this morning. This is by a Los Angeles criminal defense attorney and sometimes ABC commentator Lou Shapiro. Quote, Jimmy Kimmel's suspension from ABC followed remarks he made during his monologue about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. On September 15th, he said, quote, we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it, close quote. He also criticized the responses by political figures joking that former President Trump was the fourth stage of grief construction after Trump, when asked if he was holding up, responded by talking about a new ballroom being built at the White House. The reaction was swift and polarizing. President Donald Trump gloated, quote, great news for America, close quote. The ratings challenged Jimmy Kimmel's show is canceled. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible, close quote. He later added, Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. On the other side, celebrities and political leaders rallied to Kimmel's defense. Actor Ben Stiller posted simply, this isn't right. Actress Jean Smart wrote, I am horrified at the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel Live. What Jimmy said was free speech, not hate speech. People seem to only want to protect free speech when it suits their agenda. What is happening to our country? Comedian Wanda Sykes accused the Trump administration of silencing dissent. Rosie O'Donnell, Kathy Griffin, and Sophia Bush all joined in condemning the suspension, warning of rising authoritarianism and chilling effects on free speech. Political figures also weighed in. Former President Barack Obama warned that the administration has taken cancel culture to a dangerous level by threatening regulatory action against media companies. California Governor Gavin Newsom condemned the suspension, accusing decision makers of prioritizing politics over democratic values. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker was blunt. A free and democratic society cannot silence comedians because the president doesn't like what they say. This is an attack on free speech and cannot be allowed to stand. ABC's decision appears to be driven by the backlash those remarks provoked. Affiliates, notably Nexstar, condemned Kimmel's statements as offensive and insensitive in a tense political climate. The network also likely saw risk in relationships with advertisers, regulators, and local stations, worried about audience backlash. Added to that, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr criticized the comments as misleading and suggested potential regulatory consequences for ABC and Disney. It's important to differentiate between the constitutional protection of free speech and the rights of a private employer under contract law. The First Amendment restricts government censorship or punishment, not actions by private entities. ABC is a private network. Its contracts with on-air talent customarily include clauses, morals clauses, reputational harm clauses, advertiser relations clauses, etc., that give the networks discretion to discipline or suspend hosts whose public speech could harm the company's reputational or financial interests. In this case, Kimmel's statements accusing a political faction, the MAGA gang, of opportunism, implying misinformation or mischaracterization, mocking how a high-profile figure is responding, arguably fall within what ABC might deem risky under such contract provisions. Even accepting that ABC has contractual authority, many see the remedy on indefinite suspension as disproportionate. Kimmel's comment, while controversial, was part of his role as satirist, commentator. Punishing a public figure so severely for expressing political commentary may chill others from speaking out, especially in media and comedy, where exaggeration, provocation, and critique are part of the craft. Less punitive options could have achieved accountability without silencing him indefinitely. For example, ABC could have imposed a shorter fixed suspension of 1 week, coupled with an opportunity for Kimmel to issue a public apology. Such remedies would acknowledge the seriousness of the controversy while also respecting the role of satire and commentary in democratic discourse. Instead, the indefinite suspension feels excessive, amplifying concerns about overreaction. In conclusion, though Jimmy Kimmel's suspension generates strong feelings, it does not constitute a constitutional violation of free speech. ABC, as a private employer, retains the legal right to enforce contractual clauses and manage how its talent public speech aligns with its business and regulatory objectives. Still, it's not right to rejoice in someone's misfortune. Whether one agrees with Kimmel or not, celebrating his punishment undermines the values of open dialogue and mutual respect that should guide public debate. In moments like these, it is especially important to remain balanced and measured, recognizing both the rights of private companies and the need to preserve space for honest and open dialogue, even when the message is flawed. Lou Shapiro is a criminal defense attorney, certified specialist, and legal analyst out of Century City. He's occasionally on Facebook and can be reached at louisjshapiro@gmail.com. I land my clubhouse plane.
Thank you, Uncle Steve. And see Uncle Steve for the Critical Thinking After Party. He usually pops the room open, so he's a great guy to hang out with. And we will go to Steve. Steve, I moved you down just because you were unmuted, so glad you're back, buddy. Glad you got back on the stage. And you will actually close us out. Steve, my man, what do you have to say on the topic of the day?
Well, for what Uncle Steve was just articulating, the function of any company is your fiduciary function. If you have a board and you have investors, is return on your investment. And if you look at a map, and I looked at one the other day where Sinclair had their stations all throughout the United States. This was a map where Sinclair, based on the climate, was going to take a hit. And if you're in that boardroom and you don't do something to protect your client, and you don't do something to protect your investment, then you haven't done your fiduciary responsibility. Is it over the top? Possibly. We're in the heated climate. People throwing things back and forth all the time. I had a small company one time, and if one of my employers was out there aggravating my clients all the time and it was costing me money, guess what? I hired you not to be a voice for my company. I do that. That's not your job. So, was there FCC stuff? Possibly. I was looking at where Sinclair and another company is talking about mergers. But these are all business models. And, you can't complete the First Amendment when it comes to someone running the business. If you want to go to work for someone, like Steve was talking about, there's clauses in contracts. A lot of contracts are at will anymore. That's where your right to articulate yourself in a manner that could be detrimental to someone that's put time, sweat, blood, and money in a corporation that you don't have the right to go out on your own and sabotage. If you want to do that, start your own company and then just say whatever you want to. But in that case, I would suggest that if you operate a company like that, you'd probably go bankrupt. So that's my take on it.
Great point.
Thank you so much, everybody. And that brings the room to a close. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Thank you, Alan, for being here. And Howard, thank you so much for nodding here. And thoughts and prayers with Gary and his bleeding foot. And we all hope that his foot is heals up nicely. Thank you all. And we will see you all tomorrow for the end of the week show.
Peace.
Yeah, let me talk.
What did she
All right,
get? Did she gonna know what she's done?
Nobody's gonna listen. No problem. I'll close the room.
No, Royal.
No.
No, because it's annoying as fuck, and I'm trying to
No,
expose
Royal.
somebody. Guys are not gonna let me get my shit off. I'll just kick you out the room, or I'll fucking end the room. I don't give a fuck. Like if this is the whole point, I opened the fucking room, right? So this guy, he said here, oh well, I want to get back to my argument. And I said, okay, give your argument. Then he says, yeah, because we were rudely interrupted. Bitch, what? I just entered the room. I said, hey guys, what are you talking about? And you said, oh, hey Royal, you were in Amir's room? What were you talking about over there? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, yeah, literally is what he said. So I told him what I was saying in the other room, and then I came there. Yeah, no problem. So then he goes, oh, we were rudely interrupted. I said, how are you rudely interrupted? When I said, hey guys, what are we talking about?
Hey, I was just playing a clip for somebody. I'm trying to see what happened in the room because you weren't in there.
Trust Qatari government or the people. And there are a lot of slavery going on. A lot of people died in Qatar when there was a war final going on. I don't know, what was it?
Only like 300,000 are like actual citizens, right? The rest are like all kinds of like workers and like 300,000. That's the number of citizens in this country.
Yes, it's
if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember.
Yeah, that's correct. But it's even more because some of them they don't have any ID, and they get their passports. It's like they basically kidnap them. It's neo-slavery. It's a very bad.
And they were able to host what was it, the soccer, the championship, or like what was the FIFA. And this is like part of this whitewashing them into like as a normal country. I think that and I think the good thing about what the attack that Israel did in Qatar, maybe the timing was questionable, but it was like masks off. Like they're playing as this mediator while also hosting Hamas and also operating Al Jazeera. I just didn't get it from the get-go. What the fuck makes them mediators? They are like participants. They are like the finances and the propaganda arm. They are not like a third party. They should be. I don't get it how they're not like how Israel doesn't sue those countries with the same way that South Africa and all those are suing Israel.
Because they say that, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And since America or USA has the biggest base there, basically Qatar is hard to ignore for Israel. But I think Israel did the right thing. And actually, Iranian and Iranian people are happy.
Okay, I'm just going to give this and then I'm going to go away. You're good.
Sorry?
No, someone stopped you. No more.
Amazon?
I'm using normal. It's hotline. Talking to a Israeli guy.
Speaking of the bubble thunders there, do you remember the Sri Lankan army fighting against the Tamils? I think circa 2006, 2011. I mean, there were reports of tens of thousands of civilians killed. No one gave a shit. Not a single demonstration in Europe. I mean, just think about it.
Listen, you know, the entire world is up in arms about this Israeli attack on Hamas on Qatari territory. 3 months earlier, Iran launched missiles at American targets in Qatar territories. Everybody acknowledged that the attack was not on Qatar, but on the United States, which was an enemy to Iran. And in this case, the world flips out with condemnation left and right, as if we attacked Qatar. It was just 3 months ago. How can people forget it? It's the same country.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. They were talking about the removing Kimmel from the show.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
And first off, Moose and JCC, were you able to hear the music and hear me talking? I just couldn't hear you, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, we heard the music.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, great. JCC, thank you. Appreciate that. We just started because I was just playing a little bit of music. So let's first go to JCC. JCC, you want to talk or you want to defer to Moose for now?
Moose could say, my 2 cents is neither Kimmel nor Stephen Colbert should have been fired. However, it is what it is. Maybe bigger things will come for them. So
you got it. Okay, Moose, go ahead there, bro.
I echo JCC's sentiment. I mean, you just cannot make this stuff up. If you know, a lot of folks were upset that Kirk was allegedly killed for his. Well, we all know he's killed, but for allegedly exercising his free speech. And I agree. Nobody should be killed for exercising free speech, and I don't think anybody should be canceled for exercising free speech, particularly comedians. But I guess it's one thing to be doing your bit at a bar, except when your bar is owned by corporate mega corporations. Well, then let's cue the censorship. I think these are concerning days if this is a pattern.
I'm going to say something that's totally politically incorrect, but I believe is 100% is true. I totally support cancel culture because, in my humble opinion, I stress opinion, cancel culture is democracy at its heart. You get millions of people that say, I don't want this person on your TV show, or I'm going to stop buying your paper towels. That is pure democracy. And y'all, you are all free to disagree with me, but I totally support. Well, yeah, we'll do it in order. And if you want to
slandering your political opponents is democracy.
The show earlier, Critical Thinking, they were talking, and it was titled about Jimmy Kimmel. So let's rock and roll. Jerome Powell, I don't think I've spoken with you before, have I?
I think we did.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to speak to you again. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi. To be honest, I just gave you this big eye thing because you said you support the cancel.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, I do.
Yeah, but the example you gave that's not really the cancel culture.
Really? What is a better example? Please educate.
No. You scared me because you said you were supporting the cancel culture, and then you gave this example, and I thought,
I don't support all the people that are canceled, but I totally support the premise of cancel culture because I believe it is our truest form of democracy. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but the example you gave is less worrying than I thought, right? Because I don't support the cancel culture because it's a lot of people it's a small group of people screaming and making a lot of noise, but it's not the. I'm a little rusty in my English. It's not. They're not talking for everybody. You know what I mean? So when you gave the example, I thought, okay, you're still my friend. That's sort of a joke.
I wasn't referring to Charlie Kirk or Kimmel. I was referring to the premise of cancel culture.
Yeah. But the example you gave, I can totally. I can
millions of people saying that if you don't take that person off the air, we're no longer going to buy your paper towels. That's exactly what I said. Yes.
Okay. But is that a cancel?
Advertisers control the air. If every single advertiser canceled their contract on the Jimmy Kimmel show, his show would have been canceled immediately, and no one would have questioned it. They would have blamed it all on the advertisers. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but that's still not the cancel culture then, right?
Well, educate me. What is cancel culture?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
No. Okay.
Well, if you don't know, how can you argue what I'm saying is wrong?
No. It's not wrong. I think no. You're fine. It's just you said I support the cancel culture. And
I support the premise of cancel culture because I think it's one of the truest forms of democracy. Yes, I said it 3 times.
I can hear you. I just came in, so I should I can also listen, of course.
I love that.
I would like to give you a compliment because it sounds really hard, like this cancel culture thing. But in this case, I totally agree with you because this is the way it works. Who pays? What is the saying about it?
Steve Appel's a bitch.
Advertising.
A big stupid bitch.
Not content.
So is JCC.
Yeah.
So is Marshall.
If all the advertisers
This
stood
show
up to
already
ABC and
sucks.
said,
And Moose is also a bitch. El Normo. I like El Normo. Everybody else on this stage is a bitch.
Take my word for it.
Yeah, I do. So thank you, and I totally agree.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I love it when people agree with me. Let's say hello to El Normo. Hey, Normo, I know you just got here. Did you want to talk or do you want to hang?
Well, I wanted to say that the expression is, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Oh, yeah.
And there, no, sir, who was that? Was that Jerome? You got to hang. You got to stay on mute. It's also, Norm, you don't bite the hand that feeds, but please continue.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Now, there's another truth here, and that truth is that these networks are hemorrhaging money these days.
Yep.
So whatever contract they hold with their late night talk show hosts, for however many millions of dollars I have a feeling they're having difficulty getting the kinds of ratings that they had as recently as 10 years ago.
No question about it. I mean, all of late night, the ratings and the advertising revenue have been going downhill steadily. Yes.
That's right. And, the ratings for YouTube are up, and you can watch a million different things on YouTube. So what do you want to sit there and watch television with commercials for?
It's not only that, but if you're on YouTube, what is the production value of a YouTube cost? A couple of $100, a couple of $1,000. They pay millions of dollars to produce each show, don't they? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So the world is changing. This is not only a political decision. I think it is. I think it was horrible take for Jimmy Kimmel to wade into this matter with the party's value hope. But I also think they had a financial motivation.
Norm, I think they were looking for an excuse. Just my opinion. It's not like everything else was okie dokie until this comment occurred. I think they were looking for an excuse because of the low ratings, because of the loss of revenue, and this was just sort of this was just an excuse, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, pretext.
I don't think he should have gotten fired for what he said, but I do think what he said was incredibly problematic. 4 days after the guy was shot, he was making a claim about political motivations of the shooter being on the right-hand side of the aisle, when the responsible thing is to go, political violence is bad. It's bad when it's done on all sides, period. And Kimmel tried to equivocate in a way that, like, drug him into something he shouldn't have. It took his ability to be funny and made it political in a way that was just not helpful to his overall message.
Sounded to me like he was gravy training a death to get back at MAGA and to use it as he was gravy training a horrible death to stick another sword in MAGA's chest. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was being rather explicit about his views. The people on the right were trying desperately to turn him into something, to turn him into anything other than, quote, one of them. I think it's incredibly unwise for Kimmel to have made such a remark. I just feel like there needs to be a bit of clarification from my view. Shouldn't have gotten fired. I don't think that should have got him off the air, but he shouldn't have said it. He was piling on top.
It was in very bad taste, I'll tell you that.
He was doing the same thing that President Trump did that was so destructive for the country. It was destructive when Trump blamed it all on the left, and it's destructive when Kimmel just blames it all on the right. It doesn't help.
Thank you.
Did I get in here real quick?
Yeah, hold on. We got Necro and then Steve Wee. Necro.
Yeah, in general, it's like, I just think with Kimmel, like with cancel culture, I don't like it. And it's not because, though, I'm a person who is, anybody who's woke who lost his job recently for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death or anything like that. But it's also not because I'm not it's also not because I'm a person who is conservative, who has ideas that a lot of people just find really unpopular. I just think it's ultimately kind of like essentially
They were so unpopular they led to the last presidential win, the largest youth threat since Richard Nixon.
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially, like, I just think conservatives, though, like, when they complain about cancel culture, they complain essentially, like, about ideas that they complain about and they speak about the next day, like, abortion, like, when they're anti-abortion, they complain that they're canceled for being against it, and then they go on speak about it the next day. But anyways, I'm against cancel culture mostly because I just see it as a weapon that shows, like, to try to create. It's just essentially creating a mob to shut up other people. Now you might say,
and
like,
you would agree Kimmel should have created his own mob.
Can I? Okay. So, but it's like I see your point, Steve. Essentially, that it's democracy. Because I mean, essentially, democracy is kind of like everybody saying your ideas suck. Get off the stage,
or I won't buy your product.
Yeah, it's it's everybody giving their honest opinion, and you can say that it's difficult to stand on, but it's like I mean, so I do see your point, Steve. Definitely.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But in general, that's my reason I'm against cancel culture, and it's not. Because I'm, a lefty who lost a job recently, but it's also not because
there are plenty of good reasons not to support cancel culture. Not a problem.
Yeah, it's also not because, like I said, that my ideas suck as a conservative.
No, not at all. Thank you. Okay, Steve Wee.
Yeah,
I don't mean to reiterate this, but I think it's an important point in a new room. You know, if you I looked at a map the other day of the location of Sinclair's broadcast facilities across the United States. Now, whether people want to accept this or not, it's really irrelevant because the station managers in those markets know what their audience is. And if you're a corporation and you're in a market where these type of things is going to cause financial damage to you, and you're running a corporation, it's your fiduciary responsibility to try to protect your corporation. And I think that more than anything, that's what Sinclair's saying. They got stations in markets, believe it or not, that doesn't think like certain segments of the United States. And I think they went to ABC and told ABC, hey man, look, you're damaging us. If you don't say something about this, they don't have to carry Kimball and staying in business.
Yes, sir. Let's go to David. Hi, David.
Good afternoon. I want to say to Steve, and I respect you. We have a Sinclair station here in the Northwest, which is as liberal as anything on the West Coast. And our state actually voted more liberally than the previous election, which is hard to do. And Sinclair isn't afraid to publish their ultra-conservative viewpoint on their news broadcasts in our world. So please, they don't change it for where they are. I'm not a Kimmel fan. I don't think he should have been fired. Obviously, this isn't financial, not because of the people broadcasting him, but the people who want to do deals and need to get them done. And I said it in the other room. You know, we have a $15 billion suit against the New York Times from this administration. We have ABC backing down from a lawsuit that they knew they could win. We have other places where now the media is being made afraid to comment on what they really want to say.
And ABC, Disney that owns ABC is a $200 billion company. Please continue.
Right. And so many of these shows, the news shows, not the comedy shows, but the news shows were always operating often at a loss because it was more seen as a public good. And some of their licenses actually have parts of public good in their license that they have to do certain things.
I would think all of them have.
Right.
But please continue.
Right. So I would love to see what they're going to replace this losing Kimmel show with and see how much money they make off it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I want to go to the mods, but before we go to the mods, I want to play a 2-minute clip. So JCC, Marshall, Daryl, get ready. And if you're in the audience, come on up. This is, I think it's on point. It's about halfway through The People versus Larry Flint, and it's the closing argument made in his trial where they were trying to make illegal his Hustler magazine. I think it's on point to this, but check it out.
Well, here we go, another boring-ass little buttercup room spreading her propaganda, wasting all the time, talking about nothing. It's pathetic, buttercup. Get a life. Do something with yourself. Go to the gym, or do some yoga. Make a video. Do something creative. You're going to burn out doing this. It's a waste of time what you're doing,
I'm
little
not trying to
buttercup.
convince you that you should like what Larry Flint does. I don't like what Larry Flint does. But what I do like is that I live in a country where you and I can make that decision for ourselves. I like that I live in a country where I can pick up Hustler magazine and read it if I want to, or throw it in the garbage can if that's where I think it belongs. Or better yet, I can exercise my opinion and not buy it. I like that I have that right. I care about it. And you should care about it too. You really should. Because we live in a free country. You know, we say that a lot, but I think sometimes we forget really what that means. So listen to it again. We live in a free country. And that is a powerful idea. That's a magnificent way to live. But there is a price for that freedom, which is that sometimes we have to tolerate things that we don't necessarily like. So go back in that room where you are free to think whatever you want to think about Larry Flint and Hustler Magazine. But then ask yourselves if you want to make that decision for the rest of us. Because the freedom that everyone in this room enjoys is in a very real way in your hands. And if we start throwing up walls against what some of us think is obscene, we may very well wake up one morning and realize that walls have been thrown up in all kinds of places that we never expected. And we can't see anything or do anything. And that's not freedom. That is not freedom. So be careful.
And let's go to our mods. JCC.
Hang on, I can't talk.
Yeah, okay, let's go to Marshall.
I tend to agree with Cliff. They don't want to erect barriers to free speech culture or free speech in that way. It's wrong when the government gets involved in viewpoint discrimination, and Americans have to think about what they say and whether it adds to the national discourse or not. Because, like it or not, the whole national discourse is built of small conversations. And we have to decide whether we're going to stand up for an idea versus assassination unhelpful at the same time. I think we have to have both of those kinds of thoughts in our head. And I think it's unfortunate we live in a country where our president, instead of choosing to unite the country when he had the pulpit, decided to blame it on one particular party. That shouldn't have been the message. The message should have been political violence is wrong. It doesn't matter who does it. It's always wrong. Same way we think murder's wrong. Murder's wrong. It's always wrong. It doesn't matter who does it.
Thank you, Marshall. There's no question in my mind, no question at all, black and white, no gray, that the government brought pressure to bear. But is this a free speech First Amendment issue? No, it is not. This is a business decision. Now, did the government violate the Constitution by bringing pressure to bear? I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's go to David. Hi, David.
Hey, I want to comment. This is Daryl.
I'm sorry, Daryl. Sorry about that, Daryl.
No worries. Comedy has always talked about, this quote unquote, the right to offend, right? And, this goes back to like the Great Depression. So during the Great Depression, the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, they would make fun of, or at least bring satire to like escapism through the Great Depression for many people. So there's always been this idea or this philosophy about the right to offend without necessarily causing harm per se, right? And so if we're at the point where people are just so thin-skinned that the right to offend doesn't exist anymore, then what is next? It's what else will people find offensive? And where does this go? Because comedy has really helped this country tackle like some serious issues, even the Vietnam War.
You were boring.
You would bring comedians out to see the troops, and the comedians would make fun of what the troops were doing in the Vietnam War. So is it that comedy is no longer has the right to offend, or is it just the comedy I want to hear or you want to hear, and any other joke is just tasteless per se, but yeah, I fall back on like leave comedians alone because they've been doing this for 100 years.
Thank you. Scott Jones, would you like to contribute, or are you good?
I just think it's so interesting that Trump
speech advocate, and how, you know, the woke left was censoring people, and that, you know, he was, you know, for free speech guy. And then he's a guy that really tries to use the powers of his off-cultural influence to censor people. He is the son of a gun. And, which, you know, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, you know, people think it's censorious, but it's just interesting where
Giant got
the
kicked.
opposite of censorious. And, yeah, pretty thin-skinned. And it's continuing. Again, I read in the room, but I'll read it again. The Truth, you know, from Truth Social. I love it that they call it Truths. But he says, 15 hours ago, he said,
"Great news for America. The ratings challenged Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert. Okay, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC, President DJ P."
No, that's not the push to censor, right? I mean, he's. I hope NBC doesn't have any mergers or anything before them, because if that's not a pincer, I don't know what is.
Thank you. Daniel, you're next up. Daniel. I think Daniel. Daniel? Hi, Dan.
Which Daniel? I think there are a couple.
I showed Daniel Nero as first in my queue.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for that. And I'll be brief. I just wanted to dovetail on the Larry Flint comment. And I think that, like, if Kimmel spent more time, you know, writing funny jokes instead of, you know, sticking